Hey there, thank you for joining me for another Dear Sam Horse Health Horsemanship series. And obviously, I'm outdoors with all these layers on, but I thought it was a really good moment because this week, as I return back to Arizona, there's been lots of wind in our version of cold, although not comparative to other places in the country. It's definitely a big shift, and we've had 40 to 50 mile an hour windstorms. And I just thought this was a great opportunity to talk about less than ideal circumstances. And I know for a lot of people, the weather can really limit or even eliminate time that they spend with their horses because there's this constant fixation on wondering what the horse might do if fill in the blank when the wind is happening. Especially wind, although snow falling off of indoor arenas can also be quite the exciting moment. So rather than getting fixated on wondering the outcome, what I would like to address, and again, this could be a multiple, variety of scenarios. This is not just about wind, but I'm just using it because it's come up recently. That what are the tools or what are the ways in which we would communicate with our horse to help them through a scenario? So a lot of times people can get distracted by perhaps moments they've experienced or maybe seen other people experience, in the sense of becoming very fixated on all of these unwanted outcomes, rather than thinking about how could we start to practice, maybe not on windy days or not in the potential peak stress of the horse, having the tools and having the conversation so that on a day when it's windy, when things are flapping, when there's lots of distraction, we have the ability to help the horse first think through things, let go of fixating thoughts, help drain physical tension, and then be able to actually build confidence for the initially potentially overwhelming situation. So think about when you are with your horse, how specific are you as far as what it is that you want, where you want it, when you're asking for it, and how often you're checking in with your horse. Now, on a boring day, most people could care less as long as the horse doesn't feel too resistant. That's kind of the standard. But on a windy day, if our horse addressed us with the same level of, I'll say, casualness, as they often do when I meet folks who go, hey, it's not a big deal to catch, it's not a big deal to lead, and there's not really much availability in the horse, there's not much adaptability in the horse, there's not really much woe in the horse. On those uneventful days or potentially less concerning days, it doesn't seem like a big deal. But on the day that the wind is flapping and the wind is blowing and the roof is flapping and trash is blowing around, or here in the desert, tumbleweeds are coming, it really matters. It matters that we can be able to help that horse learn how to think through scenarios rather than get super big in their giraffe-like, or what I call pretty postures, and then, quote, all of a sudden explode. So rather than trying to take on the moment randomly hoping or randomly feeling like you're guessing, wondering what your horse will do when he's super stressed out or super overwhelmed by the current weather situation or other things going on, perhaps think about what it is that you want, and do you ever actually convey that to the horse? I know that sounds really basic, but really this is the preface for when you ride. And again, the same thing happens so much of the time when people are warming up their horse. There's just this kind of mental checkout, or in fact, I'll actually see people where they're using it as social hours. So they're talking to other riders, they're not with their horse, they're not checking in with their horse mentally, they're not assessing how available the horse is from the very first steps of the ride. And so unintentionally, because again, it doesn't feel scary, we're thinking everything's fine, not realizing how much of the time we're teaching the horse he is on his own. And if we're constantly reaffirming that with mindless catching, mindless leading, mindless tacking, mindless warm up, mindless everything until a scary moment, we basically have taught the horse to not to acknowledge our input. And so then we wonder why in the scary moment, when we suddenly want to do a whole bunch of things, we wonder why often our input winds up making it worse. So the whole, scary or undesired moments, it's not about waiting until that moment before we interject. It's about setting up so that you're constantly refining your awareness, your skills, and your communication in how you communicate with the horse, so that as the big scary moments on the windy day, on the whatever unexpected scenarios, you can help your horse work through them without it being an exciting story to tell afterwards. I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments below. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.